outside toilet, down the bottom of the garden, having to go and collect water in Staine in Nerds, with my mother or with my father, about half a mile to go and get water from a well, because there was no water in the house. There was no electricity in the house. Coal-fired, oil lamps, no running water in the house at all. We used to have a bath in a, well, what do you call it these days? A large basin, is it, or what? Or it's like a
big grey steel tub.
That's right. You probably saw it as a boy.
1970s, I think. Your father was still using it.
Well, all of us were using it. In front of the fire. We didn't watch each other shower, but bath, obviously. We didn't watch my mother and grandmother, but we were all in this tub that could hardly hold a 10-year-old child. All of us used to use that. That's how we used to have our bath. People to know how they're born these days.
Well, your father, he worked in the mining industry as a carpenter.
He was a colliery carpenter, and his father was a colliery carpenter, and they both worked together in Great Mountain Colliery in Tumble, and he obviously picked up the apprenticeship side of carpentry work from his father. And they were both called John Jones.
Oh gosh.
But my father was John Ellis Jones, and my grandfather was Jack Cassard, they used to call him. Heck of a character, great singer, Eisteddfod singer, and a lot of the traditions of the family in terms of music and singing came from my father's side of the family. Not that my mother was a bad singer, man. She was a good soprano voice as well. But that competitive tradition came from Jack Cassard, because he took his singing very, very seriously, and he took his practicing very seriously. And he was a different man when he came back from an Eisteddfod at 1 o'clock in the morning, having lost. He did not like to lose, and he sometimes did lose. But he had a cupboard full, I can see them now, 50, 60, 70 cups that he had won. Miners Eisteddfod in Porthcawl, and many other Eisteddfods. And oddly enough, and you'll be happy about this, his Eisteddfodic name was Cymro. That's what he was called. His stage name was Cymro.
Good gosh. And since we're on the subject of singing, I think it might be a good time for you to talk about Peniel.
Well, singing was a big thing in those days. You know, there were good singers in Peniel, and there was competition there. You know what I mean? People were out to each other in how good they could sing. And I'm talking of a small chapel, 100 members at that time. It's down to about 10 now. 100 members. But on a Sunday night, we still had about 30, 40. And the singing in the very small chapel, well, you know, it was like being in the Royal Albert Hall, because it filled the place. And you could go out onto the road, walk away from Peniel for about 50 yards and more, and you could still hear the singing. It was quite amazing. But as I said, there was competition there, as singers. Competition who was to be what is called in the old days a Gwynoro Uncut. The Gwynoro Uncut is the person who used to start the singing if there was no organist there. He set the tone, set the pitch. Well, there was a big hoo-ha in the 50s in Peniel. My father wanted to do the job, and there was a son of a deacon who was also a good singer, Talrin his name was. He wanted to do the job. My gosh, the debates and the sort of backstabbing and the sort of, whispers about people, about all that, amazing. But singing was a big part back in those days. Even in 1953, during the coronation of our current Queen, there was a coronation party on the square in Volgaster. You know, the whole village, open air, and in the night there was a concert in the Wimpy hut, because there was a sand quarry on the little mound behind Volgastell, and they are set up there to collect the sand. But they put a hall there. Well, it was not a hall, it was a hut, but big enough like a village hall. And that is where the main concert took place. And my father had organised an area choir. And they would sing songs that male voice choirs sing these days, like Kalinka, the Russian song, and the Russian march song, I've forgotten now. They took their singing. There was nothing else was there. What was there up until the mid-50s? People had to create their own entertainment.
Yes.
People had to, it was a community involvement, and that's how it was.